And Senator Ruston, questions?
Oh, thank you very much. I'd just like to ask some questions on behalf of Senator Eggleston, who's not able to be here because he's chairing another standing committee in estimates. So Senator Eggleston asked me to ask these questions, so forgive me if I don't understand all the detail. He wanted to raise a question in relation to questions from the estimates in February, in particular question number 29 in relation to the Commonwealth Bank takeover of Bankwest. What he'd like to know is apparently the response to his question took 6 weeks longer than the deadline for which questions on notices were due, and the response he got to his question when he asked about whether there'd been any review, ASIC review, into the Commonwealth Bank takeover, basically the answer was no, and I think he was just wondering why it took so long to say no.
Okay.
Peter? Greg?
For the second warrant day from ASIC, why it took so long, I can take that on notice and we could answer that question. We could tell you that.
Senator
if I take
Conroy,
that on notice, we could tell you.
Senator Conroy, could I ask the question?
I'm helping.
No, I've actually got a different line.
So, Senator, if you're satisfied with that, but we could say that. In terms of no, if you want to revisit the substantive question, I'm happy to do that if you like.
Sure, thank you. I've got an article here which was in the Australian on the 6th of August 2013, and Senator Eggleston draws to the attention that in this article, ASIC reviews CBA resort dispute. I don't know whether, given I'm speaking from a newspaper article, you wish that to be tabled?
I think we should, yes.
Okay.
Copies and passports.
Yes.
Yep.
That's Australian.
Sorry? Yes, the Australian. Yep. And whilst that's just being copied and tabled, I'll just a brief excerpt out of it. The corporate watchdog is making inquiries into property developer Rory O'Brien's $512 million unconscionable conduct claim against the Commonwealth Bank. It goes on to quote Mr O'Brien as saying, "I was contacted by an ASIC officer who said he wanted to review my evidence, and a spokesperson confirmed ASIC had obtained the affidavit but said at this stage there was no formal investigation because the Commission was only reviewing the case." And Senator Eggleston was sort of drawing the parallel between that and the answer to his question on notice, that if there was no review, why were we referring to a review in a preceding newspaper articles?
Thank you for the question, Senator. We're happy to go back and revisit the question and if you like, consider that article and consider whether there's any inconsistencies there, and if so, explain those. Can I just give you a bit of oversight about the considerations by ASIC of Bankwest, if that would assist?
Sure.
We've received a certain number of issues and concerns that have been raised by various members of the public regarding operation of Bankwest and certain commercial loans. Some of those includes Mr O'Brien. Every one of those that's brought to ASIC's attention, ASIC considers, we give a full assessment of. Some of that might require that we request certain further materials, and in this case, affidavits that may have been lodged in commercial court cases, those types of things. We'll consider those and see what issues there are there for ASIC. The principal types of issues that have been raised is that potentially small businesses were not in default of their payment obligations, but that, and the allegation goes that Bankwest requested new asset valuations resulting in businesses being in default and subsequent enforcement action effectively being threatened or taken. There are also issues around the appointment of receivers and managers and some of their conduct. As far as we see it, there's insufficient evidence of a breach of the law there. In relation to these loans, our purview, if you like, is limited to enforcing broad standards of conduct, certainly relating to misleading and deceptive conduct or unconscionable conduct. In relation to the case of Mr O'Brien...
Order. I'm having difficulty hearing the witness. Please.
I understand, and I don't have the details of the article, there's been a further article in the Australian Financial Review within the last 2 weeks relating to Mr O'Brien's commercial dispute, which I understand has been resolved without final judgment in that matter. And we understand the matter's in confidence between the parties. We're not sure what happened about that. If any other information relating to Bankwest wants to be provided to us, we're happy to consider that. All of those matters, as I say, were given that initial and full consideration. We have no investigation on foot. We have not had an investigation on foot.
Okay. Okay, so obviously you've just said that there was insufficient basis to warrant an ASIC regulatory investigation. So in reaching that conclusion, did you seek any evidence or request anything from Bankwest or the Commonwealth Bank in reaching that conclusion?
I have to take that on notice.
Okay. Did ASIC seek evidence relating to the relevant Basel ratios and provisions for the Commonwealth Bank and Bankwest during the takeover?
My understanding is no.
No, okay.
We didn't
Sure.
see that as necessary, Senator.
Okay. So, okay, look, what I'll do is I'll put the rest of Senator Eggleston's questions on notice because I understand we're terribly short of time.
We're already over. So, Senator Daciari has been waiting patiently for an opportunity to
for
ask
him.
some questions. So